Morning, everyone. This is Roshan here from Ingram Micro, Australia. Thank you very much for taking out time today and joining us for today's session. Today's session is a very informative and a very special session talking about our Azure implementation services team. Uh, in this session, you will get an idea in terms of how you can get in touch with us, what are the various Azure services we offer in terms of post-sale services. And to talk more about it, we have Mike Jennett from Ingram Micro, who will go ahead and host this particular session. Mike, over to you.
Thank you, Roshan. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. As Roshan said, my name is Mike Jeanette. I'm the Director of Strategy and Programs for our professional services here at Ingram Micro Cloud. And I wanted to spend some time today talking to you about our Azure Professional Services and how it can help you say yes to more IS deals. Now, as I get started, I always like to take a look at the market. And what we've seen is, everyone knows that public cloud is, you know, booming. We're looking at IaaS growing exponentially in that. One study from IDG has it consuming as much as 30% of all cloud computing investments uh, over the next couple of years. So as we look at that, $331 billion market, and 76 billion of it, is IS related. There's huge market opportunities here. There's money to be made, and there are a lot of customers and a lot of companies that are looking to make that move from on-prem to the cloud, or possibly even from another cloud provider over to Azure, and they just don't know how to do it. They don't have the expertise. They don't have the experience. And that's something that we like to talk about is, customers are looking for expert help in this area. Moving to the cloud is not a simple task. A lot of customers will look at it and they'll stop right away because they think, it's just too much time and money to be invested to make that move. They're happy with what they have. They have their hardware, they have their software, they have their setup all going right, and the cloud can be scary to some of them. Uh, when we talk about moving customers to the cloud, we really look at it just like any other development project. You really have to have a plan for your customers. And what we've found that we've seen in the industry is a lot of customers don't think that way when they look at it. And they're just looking, oh, we're going to make the move to the cloud or we're not. And they end up either way over budgeting and spinning things up in the cloud that really they don't need to do, or they way under budget. So they don't really know, what that prime spot is in between where it's going to make sense for them fiscally to actually move over. It's going to give them benefit in the long run, because we all know that moving to the cloud now is going to reap benefits down the road of not having to replace servers, not having to replace software, being on the cutting edge of the latest versions, and being able to control how much cloud you need, being able to scale up and scale down as needed. So all those things are things that are benefits to customers, but they're really looking at it and they're not understanding it. And that's where you as a partner can really come in and lend that expertise to them, give them that capability to understand what it means to move to the cloud. And I'm going to show you later on how Ingram Micro can be your partner to help you do that. Because what we've seen with a lot of our partners is you might not have the in-house expertise. It may be difficult for you to scale up, to say, if I want to build a cloud business, I'm going to have to hire architects. I'm going to have to hire designers. I'm going to have to hire developers, support people. And that's a lot of overhead to carry, especially in something where you might not have a lot of customers right now. You might actually just be starting out in the business, or you might have a few customers and you're looking to grow that and you still don't have the bandwidth to be able to scale up, to take on those larger deals, to take on those more complex deals. So as we look at that, a lot of our partners are finding themselves in the same boat as our customers, because they're looking at their current roadmap, they're looking at their current customer base and saying, what, it's solid. I do my renewals every 3 years. I have a regular renewal process on software. I have a regular renewal process on hardware. And That's just easy for me, and I don't have to have all this expertise. But as we see this cloud expansion, as we see more companies moving to the cloud, and new companies pretty much all start out in the cloud at this point, the software offerings are just so much easier for them to have rather than installing locally. So if you're not taking advantage of this, if you're not making this move with your customers to be able to provide them a pathway to the cloud, then a couple of years down the line, you're going to find yourself and your company at a disadvantage to other companies that are providing those services and getting that out there. And that can be a real detriment down the line. So this leaves with a quandary of you've got customers that want to make the move, you might not have the expertise. You're not ready to set up a large scale business that might not have the customers there. And that's where Ingram Micro can really come in and help you, because we have the expertise in-house, we have the solutions in-house, and we can partner with you to be able to provide your customers with all of these services to start their journey to the cloud, bring them over, and then support them once they're in the cloud, giving you a long-term customer that you're going to be able to have multiple touch points with on a regular basis, as you're actually now actively managing their systems and actively managing their software and hardware. And you're doing this without the need for you to actually expand your business. You're doing it on an outcome-based model that allows you to look at a customer and say yes to more deals because you have the professional services backing of Ingram Micro Cloud. You have the ability to take on whatever deal you want, no matter what the size of it, not having to worry about, do I have the expertise? Do I have the architects that can handle this? Do I have the developers that can handle this? Do I have the project managers that can handle this? You can simply work with the customer and say, yes, we have those services available. Yes, we can deliver. And you have the backing of Ingram Micro Azure Professional Services. Now, that's a lot to think about, saying, well, I'm going to pass over this whole new set of business, and ask Ingram to come in. And Ingram Micro has traditionally been, a distributor. And you might be saying to yourself, well, why am I going to choose your Azure Professional Services? Now, it's a valid question. And we've built our Center of Excellence over the last couple of years, really with that question in mind. How do we actually build this out and build out a set of services, get the right professionals in place, get everyone in place that we can actually start really working with our partners and building on that. And I'm going to get into the specifics of the services as we go further in this. And I'm also going to get into some details on the certifications we have and the capabilities we have, as well as some case studies. But really, when you're looking at this just from purely a business perspective of why do you want to move into this area? Why do you want to choose professional services? Why do you want to offer this? You look at, with our services, you can decrease your risk associated with complex migrations. You don't have to have the staff, knowing that we have the expertise. We've done this before. We have a factory model. Your total cost of ownership goes down because you're not having to scale up your own resources. And then you're going to be able to tackle opportunities from end to end, from the beginning of assessments all the way through to managing. And it's going to give your customers an end-to-end experience that they can see you as a value add to their business, not just someone that sells them software, not someone that sells them hardware, but someone that's a trusted partner that actually really provides them with services on a regular basis and that they can go to as they expand their business, as their business changes, and understand that you're going to be there for them and you have the services to offer them. So with that, I'd like to get into a little bit of detail on the services that we offer for Azure Cloud. And what we've done is we've actually broken our services into two main areas, because it's really two different parts of the journey of the cloud. But from your customer perspective, this will be beginning to end and maintaining throughout. So on the left, you're seeing our migration and professional services. And that's where we really start. Every project starts with our discovery and assessment, where we come in either white labeled under you or as a partner to you, as you saying, hey, we're bringing Ingram Micro and their expertise in to help. And we go and do a discovery of what that customer has, what their servers are, what their setups are. And then we also do an assessment to determine what can easily move to the cloud, what needs to be refactored, rehosted, what needs to be redesigned, and in some cases, what makes sense to leave on-prem, what makes sense not to move to the cloud. It may be a legacy system that they've had for a number of years. It just really isn't ready to be cloudified, and it doesn't make sense. And all that comes out in the discovery and assessment. And that allows you to give your customers a complete picture of what the move to the cloud is going to be like, what's going to be entailed, and then also the costs associated with that. Now, as I mentioned, we're very outcome based. So if we look and do a discovery and an assessment, we find out that there's 10 VMs that can move to the cloud very easily. They're ready. They don't need to be refactored. There's no design necessary. Then you can just on a per VM basis say it will be X amount of dollars to move those. And it's not a time and materials, it's per VM. So it's how many machines are we moving? That's the cost associated with it. And you can set that up as part of your SOW. And then we have our architecture and design services where we can actually sit there and work with you and bring our expertise to the table to say, okay, these software systems, these setups really aren't ready for the cloud yet. They need some design work. They need some things done to make them ready. But we can do that, and it's on a per day basis. So you can say, hey, we've moved those 10 VMs over, and by the way, these other 10 machines and setups over here, they're going to need some design services, and you can buy those on a per day basis and say, we're going to do a set amount of 10 days of architecture and design to get this set up. And that's something that we'll work with you on after the assessment to determine how much time will be necessary. And then you can give an upfront price to your customer. And if your customer is not necessarily ready to go to that level, you can say, well, let's do a proof of concept. And that's the same thing. It's on a per day basis. You can say, we're going to do a 3-day proof of concept. And on that 3-day proof of concept, we're going to take these 2 machines, we're going to modify them, we're going to move them over to the cloud, we're going to show you what it looks like, how they'll function in the cloud, what it'll cost you monthly, et cetera. And that gives them the peace of mind. It gives you the ability to work with your customer on an outcome basis. And then finally, we have our actual migrations. And really, that's not the end of the journey. That's the beginning of the cloud journey from the way we look at it. Once we've migrated a customer to the cloud, once they're there on Azure, we want to make sure that they're being optimized, that they're running properly, that their systems work. And that's where the second half on the right side of the screen comes in, and that's our cloud management services, which consists of our managed support and our cost optimization, our managed security. And really what that is managed support obviously is standard support. We'll get into some details on what we offer there. Cost optimization is a big piece because it allows you to get reporting on how they're utilizing their servers in the cloud. And you can go and show them, maybe we put more money into this area. Maybe we put less into this area because these workloads aren't being used. These VMs are not being used, or these are being used a lot. And let's take a look at that. So it's the ability to really modify their existence in the cloud without having to buy new hardware, software. It's simply, spinning up VMs or, adjusting workloads. And then our managed security, which is through Azure Sentinel. We like to use a lot of native applications and systems when we work in the Azure space. So Azure provides a lot of tools to us, and we like to use those when we can because they're built for Azure, they're designed on Azure, and they work really well. So our managed security, which I'll get into more, works on that front. And so that looks at our entire journey through the cloud. And as you get your customers over and as you get them set up on these managed services, that's where you really have that consistent touch point with your customers. And our professionals will really work with your customers to make sure that they're always up and running, that their systems are running, and that they, are getting what they need in the cloud. So I'd like to go a little bit more detail to each of these, and starting off with our migration and professional services. And we get into the discovery and assessment. So as I mentioned, this is really our beginning. And so when we look at discovery assessment, we want to understand and classify and size all the workloads that are going to be moving. Then from there, we look to create an IS roadmap and really their roadmap to the cloud. By doing these assessments and by using our professional services, you have the ability to work with multiple customers and have them running assessments. And that allows you to really build your pipeline for who you're going to move to cloud and how you're going to move them. Because you could have 5 assessments going while you're doing 3 migrations through us. And so it allows you to see where your customers are and how that data is going to impact their move to the cloud. Now, on top of that, when we do the roadmap and when we do the assessment, it really accelerates Azure adoption because we're able to show what makes sense, where they should be in Azure. And it simplifies their budgeting and the fixed setup because we do it all on a per server basis, as I mentioned. So you're not saying time and materials, and they're not saying, well, how much is this going to cost me? They know exactly what the price is going to be for each of those workloads. They move over to the cloud. And it really allows us to, set everything up and define the next steps and how things are going to work, whether that be an architecture and design engagement, whether that be a proof of concept, or whether that be a straight migration. And what we found with assessments and discoveries is that you'll often have, an assessment that may sit for a couple months. They may, need to think about it, but it allows you to really look at that pipeline, and you have that in your back pocket saying, okay, well, I've done a few assessments and I have some customers that weren't necessarily ready to move to the cloud yet, but 2 months later, they're a touch point, and you go back and you can revisit that assessment and possibly do a proof of concept, or possibly say, you know what, you're coming up on some software renewals. We always have deals going with Microsoft with things like SQL 2008, end of life, that type of thing that helps that move over to the cloud. And so you may have an assessment, and you might be able to look at a customer and say, wait, you know what, Microsoft is and EOLing this particular product. You have this. If you make this move, if we migrate you over to Azure, then you're going to get X, which may be extended support, it may be renewed licensing, etc. So it gives you the ability to have that in your system as a revisitation with your customer, with your client down the road as you're looking at their renewals. Now, once we've done this assessment, obviously architecture and design is often a big part of working with customers. No one, likes to hear that they're not ready to just bump over to Azure, that they're not, we can't just migrate them right away. But it really allows, after that assessment, for you to say, let's take a look. And these systems, it might be time for them to go through a digital transformation. And we can help with that. And our design services, architecture services really, allow us to determine how an application or workload should be designed to work on Azure. And so we cloudify those applications, and really it helps take your customers to the next level of transformation. And it simplifies the complexity of their infrastructure because now it's all set to work with Azure, work on the cloud, and it's set to work in the future. So obviously architecture and design isn't going to be for, your smaller companies. There is cost involved there. But as you get into these larger projects, knowing that you have our Azure Professional Services able to use our certified professionals, without you having to say, hey, I have to go out and hire, either on contract or on staff, 5 or 6 design architects, that's something that you just have available to you. And with that, as you'll see with some of our deals, we have a number of discounts and offers based on the size of the workloads that are going to be moved over, where we can actually assist in some of those costs that you can pass on to your customer, discounts and so forth. Next, I'd like to talk a little bit about our proof of concept services. So this is going back to really what I was talking about with the building of the pipeline. And as you're looking at your discovery and assessments and having those customers that might say, hey, I'm not ready to make that move. And this gives you the ability to say, well, okay, now we've gone, a couple months possibly, or we've just finished an assessment and you're not quite ready. You're still thinking about it. Let's do a proof of concept. Let's simulate the workloads. And we could test the scalability, the effectiveness. We could look at the latency. We could look at how DevOps works with them. Let's test that all. And while you're doing that, you're not just showing your customer, how it's going to look on Azure, but you're also building your customer's confidence that, oh, okay, well, they really know what I'm talking about. They really know what my systems do. They understand how to make my systems move. Because a lot of people have heard horror stories of moving to the cloud. And they've heard of companies saying, oh, we'll migrate you over. And they start doing the migration and nothing works. And it ends up costing them, their own customers because their systems are down and their systems aren't working. On top of that, using a proof of concept allows you to upfront mitigate a lot of the challenges that they might face. So it may be that it's a complex, possibly homegrown software application, system that's set up, and maybe it's not ready for the cloud. And you say, okay, well, let's do a proof of concept and see if this will work. See if this is going to make a good candidate for Azure. And that allows you to work with them, build that confidence again, and then obviously make sure that it is something that can be cloudified and something that's going to work. So offering that service, being able to have that out there, once again, you're getting our architects, our professionals that give you that ability to offer that without you having to actually build on your own. Now, lastly, on our left side, as I like to talk about it, is our migration services. And obviously, this is the meat of what we talk about. This is that move over from on-prem or from another cloud provider over to Azure. And so when we look at this, we migrate, all the infrastructure segments, applications, servers, databases, storage, and we really look to accelerate and streamline everything that we're transitioning over. So it's something that we have a tried and true way of doing this. We have a repeatable way of doing this. Our teams spend their days migrating customers over to Azure, so they know what the pitfalls are. We know how things are set up. And through our discovery assessment and all those plans we've laid out, we're able to mitigate a lot of the risks and a lot of the migration failures that you might run into, because it's the same teams that are working on this all the way through. And once you get them migrated over, once you get those customers over, it really opens that doorway up to the next set of services, which is really that cloud management services that is there post-migration to really give you those touch points with the customer, really be the value add for your customers. So you're not just someone that comes in every once in a while, sells them a new software license, sells them a new server, sells them a new box. You're someone that they go to when they are concerned, when they are saying, hey, I'm not sure if this is really what we want, or hey, this isn't running just how we want it. Can we get this, optimized? And our cloud management services give you the ability to offer that service to your customers and really continue to grow your business and lock in those customers as long-term customers, not just one-off customers or not just once in a while customers. So as we look at our cloud management services, the big first one is obviously our managed support. Now we offer multiple tiers of our managed support, and it's all based on Microsoft. It's all set with Azure. And our first is our standard support, which is delivery of L1 help desk support. And we have 24/7 incident management and ticketing behind that. So it eliminates a lot of the post-sales panic if they've moved over to the cloud and they're saying, oh, I don't know, something's not working. Well, they have someone they can go to that can either say, oh, no, that's how that should be functioning, or yes, it looks like there's a configuration issue, and let's escalate this. And so it gives them access to the service team, the platform and tools, so they can get in there and see, what's going on. And it gets visibility to customer complaints and customer requests and what the customer is looking for. So it's really a big touch point. Then we have our next level, which is our professional support. Now, this is a little more costly. It's a little more for that white glove service. And, it's there to ensure that your customers' cloud data center and backend systems are monitored 24/7, supported. It is another level of support rather than just an escalation of Microsoft, that if there's technical issues, they can be answered by our support professionals. And also troubleshooting and, other aspects of that. And it's all affordable, but, it depends on what their spend is, how big they are. And what it allows you to do is, rather than having to manage those customers and manage their issues and their requests, it allows you to put that on our team so that you can focus on developing more Azure business opportunities, creating more Azure opportunities, and saying yes to more deals. So it really frees up your sales force, your team, your technical team, to look at solutions that are going to help grow your business, rather than dealing with support issues, dealing with issues that your customer is having, but while still giving your customer that high level of satisfaction, knowing that their needs are being met and that they're getting what they need. Now, the next thing I like to talk about is our cost optimization services. And once again, we have a standard and a premium service here. Our standard service is access to our cost management tool so that they can pull reports, view and analyze their Azure consumption, and allows them to see cost saving opportunities. It eliminates invoice ambiguity regarding, complex cloud resource management costs, billing and invoicing as they're looking at their whole Azure portfolio. And it really gives them real-time visibility into their costs. So they can see what the Azure landscape is, where they're spending their money, what workloads are costing them more, what workloads are costing them less. So if they all of a sudden see this big spike in their Azure usage and they're saying, whoa, what's going on? They can go in and analyze it and say, oh, someone just spun up a workload and it looks like it's one of the product departments and they're using all this Azure spend, and they can either put a stop to it or account for it and understand, what's behind it. Now then we have our premium level, which has all of those capabilities also, but it comes with a consulting capability from our professionals that allows us to help customers make better decisions regarding their capacity planning, their resource allocation, and their IS budgeting. It also allows for further identification of opportunities and potential savings across their board. So it's that same access to the tool, but also with the consulting aspects of it. Next is our managed security. And this is a fairly new service, and we're basing this off of Azure Sentinel. And what this is going to do is, it's going to ensure that their cloud investment is safe and secure, and that their workloads and applications are locked down. And so it's an alerting-based system. It's reactive rather than proactive. We let them know, if there's an issue, if there's been something that, isn't set up properly, that may be a security risk, et cetera. And this is one of the many services that we're growing out, and we're going to be offering extensions to as we go. Now that's what we look at when we talk about, our managed services on the whole. And what I really like to look at here is, as you see these services front to back, left to right, it's really giving you the ability to say yes to more as a service. And with Ingram Micro Cloud, we really are there for you to help grow your business, to help expand what you're doing, and really help you build opportunities and build a pipeline so that you can grow your user base and really expand your Azure capabilities. Now, one of the things I talked about earlier is, what are our credentials? What does Ingram Micro Cloud do? Where are we? Well, we are a Gold Microsoft partner, and we're very proud of the fact that late last year we attained Azure Expert MSP certification. For those of you who don't know what Azure Expert MSP certification is, it is a top tier managed service provider certification from Microsoft Azure. It's something that only about 70 companies in the world have, and I believe they are still planning on limiting that to 100 companies worldwide. So there still are some out there looking to get it, but it's a very difficult certification to get. It comes with an extensive on-site audit that I was part of, and I'll tell you, they looked at every aspect of our business and every aspect of how we manage migrations and support, and they are very stringent about what they talk about. So it's something we're very proud of, and it's something that we bring to the table. So when we talk about, the fact that you can white label our services, we have no problem with that. But also, if you're just getting started in this area and you want to have a little bit of gravitas, you can bring us in and say, hey, we've partnered with Ingram Micro Cloud, our distributor, and they are Azure Experts certified. And this is who's going to be delivering your migrations and your managed support as part of our engagement. So that's something that, we definitely like our partners to be able to have in their back pocket as they're looking at offering these services and growing their business. On top of that, and what comes with that, is how we've built our center of excellence and how we've built our practice on a worldwide basis. The global partner, and we're invested in your long-term business success just as much as we're invested in our own. So we have an ecosystem of partners that's poised to make far more money in the long term and build a better business. And with our Azure Professional Services, it really gives you the professionals, the certifications, the partnerships to be able to increase your customer satisfaction reduce your churn, and really gives you the capability to stay ahead of your competition. We are here for you guys. We're here to help you build your business. And as we look at the different offers that we have, this is something that I like talking about, because you may be sitting here saying, well, this all sounds great, but what's in it for me? How do I get started? How do we get this going? And this is just one of the package offers we're looking at right now. And what we're offering is 3 separate packages for that assessment through to managed support. And it starts with our smaller deals, which as you look at this 1 to 5K, these are US based pricing, by the way. And I'm sure we can show you at some point down the line the Australian based pricing, but this is just an example of what we're talking about. And we look at the monthly recurring revenue on Azure. So for package 1 is any company that's going to be doing $1,000 to $5,000 a month on Azure. You'll be able to offer them a free assessment. You'll also be able to offer credits on third-party tools and really get them started. But the big thing is that free assessment. But as you move into larger deals, looking at 5 to 15,000 in MRR, over 15,000 in MRR, you have the ability to offer them once again the free assessment discovery, because that's really there to help you build your pipeline and to get your customers interested in understanding what they can do with Azure. But from there, we have discounted pricing on Azure for your customers. We also have further credits on third-party deals or third-party software. Where it gets really interesting is on the migrations. So if you're looking at a 5 to 15K MRR, our migration prices go down by 50%. Now you can take that 50% yourself. You can pass that whole 50% over to your customer, however you want to handle that. Over 15K, those migrations become free. Once again, you have the ability to set your own pricing, make a determination if you want more margin, if you want to pass that over to your customer, and you can do that on a customer by customer basis. And then the MSP expert services, which is a level of our managed support services that looks at that standard, the cost optimization, and managed security for our new commerce experience customers. We're looking at providing 1 year of those services free on the package 2 and package 3. So Roshan will be talking about details on next steps a little later in the webinar, and he can talk to you about how to get in touch with your rep to talk about those offers, what's available. On top of that, we do have a number of other offers. This is just one example. We have a number of incentives that we provide and ways to help you really build your business. So don't look at this as the only offer out there, but just as one example of opportunities you have as you're working with Azure Professional Services from Ingram Microcloud. Now, when you go to actually look at these services and go to order them, all of them are available on our cloud marketplace, and they're available as a SKU. So we are very outcome-based driven. Once again, these are US prices, just a caveat there, but this is just an example. Our discovery and assessment per workload, per VM are set at $100, and we have an MSRP of $125. You can go in, you can set whatever price you want for your customer based on that and order that service for them. And you can order 1 discovery and assessment up to 500, however many you want. Same with our migration. It's VM based, it's workload based. So it's a set price. It's not a time and materials. Our architecture and design and proof of concept services, and this is where there's ability to make some serious margin, are set on a daily rate. So you have the ability to say to your customer, let's do a 5-day proof of concept. Let's do 4 days of architecture and design, or based on the assessment, we're looking at 5 days of architecture and design for this, etc. So, and once again, you have the ability to simply go in, purchase those SKUs on the marketplace, and get your customer connected with our team, get them in there, and get things running right away. So there's a lot of other marketing material on this that you can look at. There's videos showing how-to videos on how to do the ordering, etc. So I encourage you to reach out to your representatives, and they can provide you with that material. Now, before we wrap up, I do want to talk about a couple of customer case studies. This just gives an idea of what we're looking at, how we work with our customers, and how our partners feel about the professional services that we're offering. And we have a number of these, but I hold these two close to me. They show a good example of different aspects. And the first one is a company called Secure Retail Networks. And what they wanted to do, they wanted to expand into the cloud infrastructure services market with our professional services. So once again, they wanted to be able to, expand their offerings without having to scale up. Now, SRN, managed security and support for networks for some of the world's largest retail, restaurant, and hospitality brands. So they're working with a lot of big customers that need to have their systems up and running 24/7. And they wanted to be able to add cloud engineering to their services, but they didn't want to build that in-house capability. It was just going to be cost prohibitive, and they didn't have a pipeline yet to really justify that cost. One of the things I also like to talk about with this is as Secure Retail Networks has continued their expansion, they actually are building that pipeline and are starting to move some of that work in-house because as a partner, we're looking to grow your business. We're not looking to simply be your service provider. We're looking to help you grow and expand your business. So as they looked at this, they started to migrate large customer environments to the cloud. And they did that by really looking at our discovery and assessment migration services and offering those to their customers, building that out. And with our professional services, they were able to build their own sales plan around it, offer it as a white label, and create a migration model that seamlessly migrated their customers a lot faster than it was expected because they saw this as a new service coming from Secure Retail Networks. So there was a lot of consternation, but as they were able to start going in there and quickly doing discovery and assessments with our team, they found out that, wow, this really works. Their customers were happy. Their customers started talking to other customers, and it started building out the business. Now, another example is another one of our company's partners, Green Pages, and they wanted to bolster their portfolio in the services market. So Green Pages they're a leading hybrid cloud service provider and SI, and they looked at a pipeline of about $8.5 million US in customer cloud spending that they were able to build out using our discovery and assessment services. So they use our data to deliver prescriptive guidance to their customers about moving workloads to Azure, and allows them to focus on innovation because they were able to offload some of their IT operational tasks to us for the migrations and then for the managed services. And based on this, they're looking at about 200% revenue growth in what they've been able to expand their portfolio by offloading those services, those migration assessment services, the managed services over to us, allowing them to focus on big projects and what they want to do in an innovative fashion. So that's another look at not just growing their business, expanding their portfolio, but saying, you know what, we're an SI. We can do these discoveries and assessments. We can do these migrations, but we want to focus on other stuff. We don't want to focus on managing support tickets. We want to focus on innovative products for our customers. So it allowed them to create a back office with us where we're taking care of managed support. We're taking care of the cost optimization. We're doing the migrations for them. And that really changed their paradigm of how they were able to deliver service, and they become much more of an innovation company than a service provider. So that's just two examples of how our professional services actually can help you grow your business and really say yes to more IS, say yes to more deals, and really expand your opportunities. So with that, I'd actually like to pass it back to Roshan to talk to you a little bit about next steps and how you can get in touch with your reps, et cetera. So Roshan, I'd like to pass it back to you real quick.
Thank you very much, Mike. It was a very informative session. I hope it was informative to all the attendees as well. During these uncertain times, I think it's very important that you utilize the various services and offerings that Ingram Micro is putting on the table, which you can then go ahead and pass it on to your customers without increasing or hiring more resources at your end. So thank you very much, Mike, for delivering the session. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A panel or the chat window, and we'll be more than happy to go ahead and address them. For next steps, all the services which Mike addressed are available on the Australian marketplace, Ingram Micro Cloud Marketplace, or you can also get in touch with your local cloud BDMs if you need more information in terms of which services is the right one, how do you place an order, how does the entire process flow. If you have any of these questions, feel free to get in touch with your local cloud business development managers or myself, Roshan, and we'll be more than happy to get on a call and help you address the issues. So, I don't see questions on the Q&A or the chat window flowing through. So, I think we can go ahead and close this session. Thank you very much,